people right here. So I'll just take the names out. So as a moderator, we have Mr. Amarendra Khatua, IFS retired former secretary, special assignment to Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, and former Director General ICCR. Here with us as a moderator. Welcome, sir. We have I would like to call Professor Amit Budhiraja, founder, International Business Academy. I would like Ms. Dolly Bhasin, founder, SmartEdge, to join. I would also like CA Ridhima Shukla, strategic advisor, MSME Business Forum India, to join the forum. I would also like to call upon Dr. Milkessa Jagema Tolera from Government of Ethiopia to join the panel discussion, please. So this discussion is going to be about role of funding agencies towards export marketing. And to facilitate, I would like to invite Dr. Nigam, Mr. Yash Arya, sorry, and Ms. Sonia Lamba onto the stage, please.
Add some clapping.
So I would request you to please facilitate Mr. Amarendra Khatua.
Okay.
I would request Dr. Nigam and Ms. Sonia to please facilitate Professor Amit Budhiraja. And I would also request one more time, please, Dr. Nigam to facilitate, and Sonia, Ms. Sonia to facilitate CA Ridhima Shukla. Thank you so much, and we are open for the discussion now. So we are open for the discussion.
Let me start with congratulating Yash on the concept, on the subject, and the way he has brought us together. When we are talking about textile trade, we are talking about 5 things. That global chain of export, imports, movement of cargo, textile-related services. Second, we are talking about employment generation. 3, we are talking about sectorally different principles and policies of various countries. So for example, my friend is from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe government has a plan to generate their local textile industry away from India and China. How can they take technical cooperation help from us? See, our friend from Mauritius is there. They are trying to create a value chain, warehouse and storing of textile products globally in Mauritius. Through that, do global trade. Then 4th is, COVID has affected everything. So for example, India's export was $40 to $45 billion. But since 2018-19, growth is not there. Then financial support is required by the textile industry. Innovation has stopped. All those things have to link up. Then last is, when we are talking about role of funding agencies, the most important is, what will they do? what are the lead way? We'll start the discussion. It will be very interesting with the presence of all the Maharathis here. And I think what I will do, we'll start from you. And please, the introduction CKM is not enough. If you could start with the 3 lines.
Okay.
We'd love to hear that from you.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Milkessa. I come from Ethiopia. General Manager of Manufacturing Industry Institute. When we are talking about the role of funding agency in promoting export, to my understanding, there is no any country standing by itself. So in a global world, globally we are interlinked with each other. So why a country export some products? In the case of my country, when I took Ethiopia, especially developing countries, there is a trade imbalance. Most of the time, import is greater than export. So in a global economy, especially when we are talking about this coronavirus pandemic issue. For example, I wanted to indicate Ethiopia is mostly exporting textile and garment. We have previously I tried to present, we have more than 27 industrial parks. All these industrial parks are already textile and apparel.
One second. Ethiopia is the 3rd largest textile exporter of Africa.
Yeah. Also, we have a population, high population. We are the 3rd one, 110 peoples. From that, 70% is already active labor force. So when we see the export volume, for example, 2012-13, we try to export 98 million US dollar. It is very small. In 2013-14, we export 111.3 million US dollar. It is already only textile. In 2019-20, we export 171.68 million US dollar at the time of pandemic. In 2020-21, we export 151. We lose more than 20 million US dollar at the time of pandemic. So presently, the government tried to revive its area, and after the pandemic is already tried to the government tried to promote, especially the European, the American market is not good to Ethiopia. So we are trying to using, we are interlinked with agencies, especially international agencies like UNIDO. We are already highly intimated with World Bank. Different financial institutions are already closely working with Ethiopia. So we try to raise upgrade our economy, especially in the export-oriented area. Presently, we are trying to finding other marketing destination rather than the previous one. Searching, finding other marketing destination, especially Indian, Asian countries are very important. We are presently doing with our embassy to search comparative advantage of the country. So this is what we have to do. So we should develop hand to hand with developing country through technical support. What is this? What I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The most important point which he made is post-pandemic situation, global situation, entails increased technical cooperation between the countries on materials, on drawings, on patterns, on funding. Let me now go to Professor from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. And let's talk about how the funding arrangements could be streamlined now, today's world, and how this could support or increase export initiatives of different countries.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, my friend from Ethiopia, who spoke very appropriately about the textile and ecosystem that exists in Ethiopia. This deliberation is being held at a very appropriate time when India has achieved its highest export growth target of $400 billion, which is highest ever in the history of India. Right, so that's something outstanding. And textile has played a significant role in achieving these targets. Especially India has been focusing on Northeast region. The natural sustainable fabric has also gained a lot of prominence during this period. And second aspect, if you look at this period, what's our target? What is the future target of India if we talk about export? We are looking at $1 trillion now. So if you're looking at $1 trillion, textile is going to play a major role in it. It's a major employment generator. That's another factor. We have huge skill set available here, huge human resource available here. And with the new foreign trade policy it's going to be announced very shortly. Currently we have foreign trade policy 2015-20 that has been extended up to 31st March 2022. Most probably in April first week or mid of April we'll have new foreign trade policy which will have a lot of new initiative where the promotion of textile is going to gain prominence. Especially, there is a new thing that's going to be introduced, new schemes that are going to be introduced where the import of technology and machinery is going to be made friendly for SMEs. This is what kind of discussion papers that we have been reading from the Ministry of Commerce and others. That's what we look forward to it. Now, if you look at the whole structure of the global ecosystem, currently if you see the global trade is currently around $18 to $19 trillion. What is the share of India's in this global trade? Hardly 1.7 to 1.8%. And what is the government looking at? Government is looking at doubling this share. We're talking about 4%, 4 to 5% of the global trade. And if you look at what is India's export share in India's GDP, it's close to 35%. And again, we are looking at making it to 50 to 55%. And what is going to play the prominent role? Textiles. Now, if you look at textiles, what is textile all about? It is about SMEs. Globally, 90% of the businesses are SME owned, and 50% of the exports is done by the SMEs. And SMEs are the largest employers. Whether we talk about any country in the world, that's how it's been structured globally. Now, in the whole ecosystem, if you start looking at something, would you like to live in a house with doors and windows closed? Or would you like to live in a house with the doors or windows open? Obviously, would like to live in a house with the doors and windows open. That's what India is all about today. But it's about Atmanirbhar Bharat. That means my feet are soundly grounded. I have opened all the windows, I have opened all the doors, but my feet are extremely firm on the ground. So I'm going to be self-reliant country exporting textiles all over the world. Now, where does the challenge come from SME when we talk about this? What do we wear? We wear very big brands. We don't wear SME brands. Why so? All of us here, I don't want to name those brands that we are wearing because I don't want to be a marketing agent for them. They don't pay me for that, right? So I'm not going to name any of those brands, but we are wearing those brands, right? So why are we not wearing SME brands? SME has not created a brand for itself. It has become a contract manufacturer. Somewhere in the global value chain, it has just become a label, providing the stuff. So what is it missing it out? It's missing out the benefits of the global value chain. Who takes the most margin, the profit out of the whole value chain? The big brands. SME doesn't get anything. He remains where? Who takes all the loans for the machine? SME. Who goes to the bank for collateral to take his loan? SME. And who is manufacturing for the big brands? Who are just doing marketing, not doing manufacturing. How we can make a small SME a brand in itself, that is something we have to look at in times to come. Now when we talk about these global value chains, like somebody was talking about Mauritius becoming a hub. Now if you look at a global value chain, is being made so complex by these big brands by using myriads of FTAs and free trade agreements that SME cannot benefit out of it. Now we need somebody from the government or these kind of forums where we can educate these SMEs how to work his way around among these FTAs. He doesn't understand how he can source his machinery from Germany, fabric from Indonesia, embellishments from Sri Lanka, and certain designs from Tanzania, and create a product which he can sell in Netherlands or in US. Can we empower an SME to that level? Big brands are doing it and making all the money. I think future is where we bring SME to that level. I'll stop here. I can continue endlessly. So I'll give the other panelists also an opportunity to introduce it. So thank you, sir.
We have among us Ridhima ji from the MSME industry itself. The point what he made is MSME, while supporting all the big industry, helping promote our exports, must create its own brand. It is not important for India, also important for my friend from Zimbabwe is there, for Ethiopia, for many countries which has large segment of their GDP from where they export textile products. Let me request Ridhima ji to talk about 3 aspects or 4 aspects. One is the funding part, second is the globalized effort part, 3 is the market chain part, then 4th is how to bring this awareness in the MSME industries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity and privilege to speak about the topic which is relevant to the exporters. We are fortunate and excited to read that India today has crossed $400 billion exports, so which is a record. I am heading MSME Business Forum India as a strategic advisor, fundraising head, and the forum's objective is to provide 360-degree support to the MSMEs. As we all know that MSMEs are the backbone of the economy. There are big fours also who support large corporates with all the services which they can afford. But for MSMEs, we know that MSME when start, they can't afford they can't afford fees of high consultancy fees. So we have created this forum in 2018 with the objective of Government of India's vision that to provide 360-degree support and act as a one-stop window solution for the MSMEs. So we have collaborated with the funding partners, family offices, experts and MSMEs. So we have created an umbrella which support MSMEs. We have law firms, we have merchant bankers, we have fundraising, and we provide all these services at the cheapest cost. So my role here, because the topic is export factoring, so my role is to ensure my clients, my exporters, that they should get the factoring product at the cheapest rate. We have collaboration with the German partners, with the Singapore-based companies. So factoring here plays a very important role, and it has saved the exporters in the pandemic era also, because factoring is a product which allows exporters to encash their accounts receivables and get the immediate payment, which act as a working capital, and they can prepare for their next orders. It improves the liquidity position of the company, and the most important thing is that it is collateral free and it is insurance covered. The credit risk insurance is covered under this product. So credit risk insurance means that it covers the risk of non-payment by the foreign buyers. Still, the company gets payment, exporter is relieved, and that's how it saved a lot of exporters in the pandemic and the COVID era, they got their money and they were relieved, because a lot of buyers went bankrupt into that phase. So factoring here plays a very important role in today's era, and it is better than the banks, because banks need a lot of documentation and they need exporters profile, whereas the factoring companies with the least documentation, and it's a very faster process, they give you money within 24 hours when you present the bill. And also, if the exporter completes one payment cycle, it not only gives post-shipment finance, it gives pre-shipment finance facility also. So it is very important. So we as a MSME forum, we are spreading this awareness among the exporters, we are conducting programs, and we have to do a lot more awareness so that we should reach the target of a $1 trillion economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ridhima. After all this discussion, the one most important thing in this segment is institutional support. Whether it is government, whether it is financial sector, whether it is credit agencies, whether it is the global financial chain and technical cooperation. Without this support, the theme what we are taking, that we need each of our countries to increase share of textile exports in the GDP, improve the role and performance of MSMEs involved in this sector. To discuss this, let me invite her, a specialist, and let her speak on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, let me begin by thanking Dr. Khatua to really give me this opportunity, though I was not supposed to be on this panel, but I've had a lot of experience in this area, especially the technology-related interventions, and since he's been kind enough to really talk, I'd like to take this opportunity to share that trade basically happens when the right kind of information flows between the buyer and the seller. And that effectively means that you need to identify who the buyer is, what is his requirement, and the sellers need to really comply to the kind of norms that are really required by the buyer, whether it is in terms of the financial transaction or whether it is in terms of the certifications. So in this particular case, we need to really understand in the textile garment space, what are the kind of emerging norms that are happening, that are being enforced internationally, and how do we really comply to those, especially in the context of today's session in the global textile ecosystem. There is a real shift in terms of really looking at sustainability as a core of the entire thing. So whether you have a product which is using ethical labor, you are using the manufacturing process is transparent, as well as looking at how the kind of trade laws which are there within the respective countries are met or not. So for facilitating that in the country, we have a huge amount of organizations which are supporting the MSME ecosystem, beginning from aggregating the kind of supply side through the GEM portal, which is basically a portal which MSME government ministry has really tried to bring everything online for facilitating the supply side aggregation. The second major institution network which is there is the export promotion councils. We have various export promotion councils, and I won't really kind of name each one of them, but the most important is the Apparel Export Promotion Council. And
there are 8 of them in the textile sector.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say that this is the framework in which we are working, and to facilitate the export and import, there is an Export-Import Bank of India, which is a very important body to really facilitate this particular thing. A couple of years back, when the borders were opening for cross-border exchange, and e-commerce was just entering, there was quite a big demand, especially I led a delegation for women entrepreneurs to really see if we can be given without an export license, we can export up to a certain amount of small products that are being manufactured in-house by women entrepreneurs sitting in any part of the country. So this has now become a formal facilitation which is possible. Up to a certain amount you can export without the export license. Now this, though it started as an e-commerce activity, now it has been extended to cross-border exchange also. When we really talk about all this, I think the technology has been the biggest enabler. And also, we have a central bank which is for small and medium enterprises called SIDBI, SIDBI, Small Industry Development Bank of India. Now, there are a lot of schemes which have been brought in for facilitating the trade through various kinds of programs which will help the buyers and the sellers to really transparently kind of take up the trade without even knowing each of them from SME to SME level. There are a whole lot of schemes, but one of the biggest schemes that really make life very simple for these small-time garment exporters is of the kind of line of credit, as well as in terms of facilitating guaranteeing the money that they are using and getting a special, what is called working capital loan against a order. So one more small thing that I'd like to do, which is now coming up in the technology space, is a recent induction of what is called the digital currency. Now, digital currency, India has just announced, RBI has just announced the central bank digital currency, and we'll see a lot of trade really being facilitated by using the digital currency. This is called CBDC, which is the central bank cryptocurrency. So this would facilitate especially the export sector largely, and we have already been seeing this happening by the private sector by using the crypto, but crypto was not legalized in terms of this thing. Now that India is going to have a cryptocurrency, which is a legal tender by the government of India, so it would become much simpler once we have countrywide CBDC to CBDC interaction. Then we will have a moneyless flow of money. So that would make it the export very easy and very fast. And I remember about 35 years back when I installed the first SWIFT network in India. I'm a technologist, so 35 years back I installed the first switch, the SWIFT switch at Bombay, which was the first indigenization of the SWIFT switch in India. And this is how I mean, we've come a long way in 35 years. We're now moving towards the crypto-based facilitation. And thank you very much for this time, and if there are any other things, we'll take it.
No, this is an interesting subject on which we needed much more time. We have 5 minutes. As I said, 4 things are very important. One is to support all our small, medium industries in the textile sector. 2, increase technical cooperation between the countries having similar experience. 3, training and appearance of the funding agencies specific to the textile segment. 4th, this kind of get-together where the traders, the funding agencies, the consultative agencies, the experts, the technology people, they get together and discuss the issue. Now we don't have much time, 5 minutes, please ask any question to them. And also I wanted to ask our colleague from Zimbabwe to basically speak about what is happening in Zimbabwe in the sector, what changes they are bringing. Somebody,
Where is the mic?
just give it to her, please.
Thank you so much. In Zimbabwe, currently what has been happening is that considering what has been happening, the negative publicity and all that, people in Zimbabwe have gone to develop, starting to do or growing within their own, like you said in the beginning, that Zimbabwe is looking at using their own resources instead of exporting and getting from other countries. There is now hemp, a product called hemp. Yesterday we had somebody from the hemp affairs?
Yes,
Hemp affairs, yes. So Zimbabwe has really started going in that direction, where many farmers, because of the access of land that we have, many farmers have started going to venture into hemp farming, which is something that they can do as a way of raising capital, as a way of raising money within the country and develop our own resources as well, instead of relying on other countries because of the negative publicity. So it's really going quite well. Right now, I know a number of farmers that have started growing hemp, and it takes about 4 months with our climate in Zimbabwe, and it's doing quite well. So we also would like to have companies like Hemp Affair to come and input in terms of knowledge, to impart knowledge and exchange ideas with our country in Zimbabwe, and anybody who is involved in hemp production or hemp farming to also come on board and support us as a country, because this is something that has just started. So we may have certain challenges in terms of exporting it to other countries, but if we have other players that are already experienced in terms of how we can go about it and grow it, we would really appreciate it.
Thank you. African Development Bank has a policy of supporting local textile industries in most of the African countries, to support and finance technical cooperation activities to develop like hemp and other materials away from dependence on India and China, so that Africa can become self-sufficient or locally generate textile products. Now let me ask our colleague from Mauritius to speak few words on this, what they are doing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khatua. But you are very experienced in the field. You know, you have a great experience, you know. Mauritius is positioning itself as a real platform to facilitate trade for Africa. So we have a really sophisticated financial hub, as well as an offshore hub, which is really with all facilities, and Mauritius has been marked as first in Africa for doing business and 9th in the world for doing business. So any business probably in between India to Africa probably can transit to Mauritius, because you will benefit a lot from no tax. There is a no tax. And Mauritius, with Africa, with a COMESA, with a SADC, with all the protocol, we have no tax agreement. Coming your products on the platform in transit to Mauritius will help you a lot for the small and medium enterprise coming to work. Thank you.
Thank you. I think... Egypt? No, Excellencies are our friends. His session is coming. He is most welcome. Being a former ambassador, they are my colleagues. It's okay. It is a pleasure, honor. But any others from the trade and industry has any question or any comments? This is a very interesting topic. Because of COVID, export of textiles from MSME world over has gone down by 4.7%. Employment has gone down by 2.3% globally. And most of the affected countries, as you are saying, not the big people, the small and medium people, and our countries. That's why this topic is so important. Any other comments? Otherwise, we stop for the concluding session. Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. This is Manish Gupta on behalf of Liquor Support System. I am from last 2 days involved in this seminar, and what I have concluded that there are 2 challenges, very big challenges are there. As Madam told us, it is the highest polluting industry also. At the same time, we have to have better avenues with respect to the textile. So we have to manage our resources in order to manage it. And as the sir, Professor Dr. Sahab told us, we have to make the MSMEs some support basically in order to make them the brand, have the brand at global level. So the idea is how we can integrate these SMEs, because of they are competing for each other. Most of the time what I have seen that 3 SMEs, if we are discussing, they are competing for each other the prices, and later on they are cost cutting by kicking out the employees also. So the thing is that what the government level we can, government level can be done in order to make the integration better for the resource management in terms of better market reach and creating the market demand for the functional textile.
You have answered your questions, all your questions. But I'll tell Upendra is coming, Textile Secretary, on the specific issue he will speak. But in the meantime, as we are involved in other topics, let's talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One more little bit question. SME, how we have to have approach? Being a startup, I would like to know how we have to approach to get the support from SME also in this.
Can you please answer this question?
So,
Answering this question.
So basically, if any startup comes to us, so we give the 100% support starting from, the compliances that the startup needs to funding through the schemes and, through the support system that we have. So we help from, from here, from the beginning till the end. We provide a complete ecosystem to the client.
See, what you are talking about is integration of SME into global value chain. You have to understand what would be the pillars of integration into global value chain. Primarily there are 4 pillars whenever you want to integrate into a bigger ecosystem. One would be your commercial pillar, one would be your financial pillar, one would be your regulatory pillar, and one would be your logistics pillar, right? So an SME has to master all these 4 pillars, right? And once he has mastered all these 4 pillars and he has structured his business model around all these 4 pillars, it would be very easy for him to make a transition and will integrate himself into a global value chain. And an SME should be looking at becoming a SME multinational. He should be himself looking at becoming a multinational and competing with somebody else. Today, for example, the lady from Zimbabwe is here, and we have a gentleman from Mauritius who says the Tech 7. Your textile from here is not competitive. You buy from Zimbabwe, use Mauritius as a hub to repackage, rebrand, and sell it to wherever you want. Why restrict yourself to a particular region? Why so? Because he says in the ease of doing business, he is number 9 or number 1. I am at 57. So obviously he gives me a better ecosystem. So how do I use this kind of an ecosystem? For that you need to be very well versed with the 4 pillars that I was talking about. Thank you.
I think this was a very interesting session. For the concluding session, the VIPs have arrived. And I think yes and others will continue with this in future. Thank you. Kind of you.
Yes, please. Yes. Wait a minute, please. Thank you very much.
Please, all the one delegates please join us from Mauritius, from Zimbabwe, people from the embassy. Please come.
Yes, please. Please wait. Yes.